Okay, so this week, I'm not sure why my camera is not working over here, but anyway, um, hopefully everybody will be able to follow, even if they can't see my lips moving. Um, but anyway, we're going to look at a new thing today, but it's still an old thing that we've just learned, a recent thing we've just learned, I guess, and that is how to read infographics and how not just to read them, but how to use information from them to support a claim that we're making. So we've been doing this, making a claim, supporting the claim with information from texts. We did it with some articles, news articles from Newsella, and we've done a lot of this information to back up what you're saying. And we're going to do the same thing, except we're going to look at the infographics. First of all, let's take a look at this, the history of infographics. It's a video, and we can skip the ads. Okay, stop. All right, I'm trying to get rid of this, and there we go. I just did. Have you ever wondered what the first infographic was like? No. All right, so so you can see that infographics, I like the phrase they used, it's data made visual. And so it's not just an essay with paragraphs and information given. It has information presented, sometimes in words, um, but also relies heavily on pictures to show you. So I have this on the Moodle page. The reason we're going over this is because next week on Monday, that'll be Monday, excuse me, not on Monday, on Tuesday, March the 8th, we will be doing our midterm assessment. And the midterm assessment is going to ask a question, and we're going to make a claim based on that question. And the midterm is also going to provide infographics for us to look at so that you can pull information from those infographics to back up what you are saying in relation to the question. So in other words, it's going to be a response to the writing prompt. You're going to make a claim. It's just going to be one paragraph. Please hear this. One paragraph. I'll be telling you this again. But remember, when we make a claim in just a paragraph, it's not the whole essay, we're not going to have a thesis statement at the end of the introduction paragraph. We're going to have our claim at the beginning of the paragraph. It's going to be the first statement that we make, the claim. And then we're going to back it up with our own knowledge and understanding of things. And then we're going to look for, in these infographics, information that backs us up. And reading the infographics may give you more ideas that you wouldn't have even thought of to put in your paragraph. But it's going to be a fairly simple thing to do. But again, we're looking at MLA format, we're looking at in-text citation, we're looking at the works cited page, and it's just like what we just did for the essay, Core 1 essay, except it's just a paragraph, one paragraph. Part of testing you for anything is to see if you can follow directions, and the directions are going to say, write a paragraph there and tell you about how many sentences it needs and all of that. But we need to go back and brush up on our paragraphs with a claim and supporting details and a concluding sentence. So it's going to be shorter. You're going to have to do it during class. So I will make it available to you. This is next Tuesday, March the 8th. So be sure and write that down. So I will be make sure that it's available for you to look at the very beginning of class. And I will be able to, and so what you're going to do is you're just going to come into the Moodle, go to the Moodle page, click on the midterm exam, and look at the instructions that are in there. You're going to do a Google Doc. Excuse me. You're going to do a Google Doc the way that you normally do it. And, excuse me, I'm losing my voice here. Okay, so we're going to do Google Docs, set it up MLA format. You know that now. If you don't know, I have to remember that. And then we're going to write the paragraph, and then you'll have a works cited page to go with it. And the citation will be for the infographic that you used. You do not look up this information yourself. You do not try to find the information. That these links to them, to the infographics, will be provided in the test, and I will show you a sample because we're going to do a practice this week so that you can be sure that you're doing it correctly for next week. The midterm assessment counts 10% of your grade. No, 5%. Gosh, I can't remember. Anyway, we can go back and look and see. You can look in the grade book and see. But anyway, it's going to count. I think it's 5%. Am I right, Kelly? Midterm 5%. Okay, I thought I was right. Okay, 10% seemed like too much. Okay, so 5%. And so this core project one that we just did counted 15%. The midterm will count 5%. That's 20% of your grade. Then core project 2 and core project 3. Core project 2 will count 20%, and core project 3 will count 25%. You know, I don't know. Whoops, what did I just do? All right. I didn't do anything to your screen. I just did it to my screen. Okay, so let's look at this. Let's see, how do you read an infographic? It's a bunch of pictures up there. So how do we go about reading it? So I'm going to pump this one up a little bit so we can see it. Because the infographic itself will tell you or give you certain clues as to how to read it. Okay, so we're not going to talk about how to cite it yet, because I just put this on the middle page and it's not at a website or anything. But let's see how to read it. First of all, in English, we read from top to bottom, so we know that. And in English, we read from left to right. So you read this the same way. You don't just look all over it. You start at the top and you read across, just like you would read a sentence in a textbook. So we have on this side, it says, here's a picture of beer, and the word beer in the same color as the beer there, versus coffee, and over here we've got the cup of coffee. And it's your brain on beer versus coffee. So this is the title. Your brain on beer versus coffee is, I can't highlight it, but anyway, your brain on beer versus coffee is your title. So you're going to always need to know what your title is for an infographic, just like your title for a selection out of our book. Okay, so now this dotted line right here lets you know, okay, read that left to right. And then look what the dotted line does here. It goes down the middle. And that says, when you've got something like that where it's divided and it looks like in 2 columns, you're going to read all the way down this column to find out what happens to your brain on beer. And then this column tells you what happens to your brain on coffee. So let's do beer first because it's over on the left. So here it is. It says this part of the brain is called the cerebral cortex, and the cerebral cortex controls conscious thought, language, and interaction. When alcohol hits your cerebral cortex, you feel less focused, but it frees up your brain from all the distractions that normally occupy it. So there you go. Now they're showing, we're reading top to bottom. There's your 2 mugs of beer there. It says, and when your blood alcohol reaches 0.07, about 2 drinks worth, that's why they showed you the 2 beers there, you become more creative. Yay. So let's see what happens with your brain on coffee. Here's the picture of the coffee pouring onto the brain. We have receptors and we have adenosine. And it says when adenosine binds with its adenosine receptor, there they are, giving each other the fist bump there, it makes you feel drowsy. So, oh, I'm so sleepy. My adenosine is connecting with with its receptors, and I'm feeling really drowsy. When coffee comes in, the receptor binds with the caffeine instead of the adenosine. Okay, so the caffeine comes from the coffee. And when that happens, which means 5 minutes later, you get more energy. Okay, and you got your poor little adenosine over there sad because he's now fist bumping with the caffeine over here. All right, so there is a similarity in both of these beverages and the effect on the brain, in that they have an effect on the brain. But other than that, they're not similar at all. They're opposite or different, not opposite, but they're different in the way. All right, so now we have this subheading that says the good, and is still divided by the dotted line down the middle. So this refers to beer, this refers to coffee. Beer makes you less worried about the world around you, which frees up your brain to make deeper connections and come up with great ideas. Okay, that's a good thing. Caffeine's effects kick in only after 5 minutes, which gives you more energy and a stronger ability to focus. So yay. The bad though. All right. Under beer, a couple of beers makes you less focused and decreases your memory. Okay, I might come up with a good idea, but I'll be less focused over here because I'm like, I'm like chilling now and I don't care that much anymore. Over here with the coffee though, drinking even small amounts of coffee will result in a tolerance, and your body will need more to get the same stimulation. So you can become sort of immune to the effects of the caffeine, and now you got to have 2 or 3 cups of coffee, and if you drink too much, you might get the jitters, right? The best time to drink, again, is still divided in half here, so this relates to the beer. Beer's good if you're searching for an initial idea. You just want to let your mind go free and pick something. But coffee is good if you've already got the idea and you just need to focus on the busy work. So since in our course I'm telling you what to write about, you don't have to come up with an idea. You can just decide what approach you're going to take to the idea, but I'm going to give you the topic. So you don't really need to drink beer while you're trying to come up with an idea. I'm going to give you the idea. But, if you get sleepy and you feel like you can't get through it, if you want to, you could have some coffee. All right, so notice right here the dotted line stops, and this goes all the way across. So this applies to both. When the dotted line stopped, the comparison and contrast stopped. So right here it says although is a contrast word. So all of this that we've told you, although, drink too much of either and you'll lose the benefits of both. Everything in moderation, folks. All right. So here's the conclusion for both. The beer, by golly, I've got it. He's got an idea up there. A light bulb came on. And then over here is the coffee guy, and he's saying, and now I must swim. I must do this because I've got this energy from it. So beer represents the idea, coffee, the execution. Beer is good for kickstarting your brain into coming up with great ideas. Coffee is good for executing those ideas. Now, and of course, this is promoted by I Heart Coffee. Okay, so that's how you read an infographic. And this was a simple one. Some of them are a little more complex than others. But you need to be able to find the title. And if I were going to ask you to write a paragraph, I'm not going to ask you, but if I were going to ask you to write a paragraph answering the question, is beer better to drink while you're doing an English assignment, or is coffee better to drink? And you would have to answer that making a claim. What could your claim be? Anybody?
Well, you're asking us to choose, correct?
Yes, the writing prompt would say, which is better for your brain while you're writing an English assignment, beer or coffee?
Well, I would, from my perspective, I'm going to answer this not all which is right in this assignment, it's my own personal opinion.
Okay,
I'm going to just go with coffee because I know those personal reasons why I think we want to. Because you drink beer anytime, please. Alcohol or any sort of that stuff that's actually going to be used my brain actually make me do worse things than actually improve my productivity.
okay, all right,
That's my choice.
okay, okay. All right, so here's the thing, and your personal opinion is very much needed because you're going to have to make commentary on what you write, even if you pull information um, from this. And if you don't want to drink beer or coffee, it's absolutely fine with me. But the writing prompt is what you're supposed to respond to. So you could just say, well, I don't really think either one of them is very good for me, and I wouldn't drink it. However, I guess I would choose coffee. Okay, so um, that would be the claim that you would make. And somebody else might say, I worry too much about something and I would choose beer just because it just kind of makes the rest of the world go away and I can concentrate better on this. I don't know if that's true or not, but somebody could, in a personal opinion, say something like that. Um, and another way you could make a claim is to qualify it. And I think that's exactly what Michaela and Sky did. They qualified it by saying, even though I wouldn't, uh, I would never uh, drink beer or coffee. Coffee appears to be the most helpful when trying to concentrate on a project. And then you could bring in uh, information from the infographic. So I could say, in my opinion, um, sometimes when I'm trying to work on writing an essay, I get really sleepy. And so if I got a cup of coffee, um, I could get more energy. And you're going to say, according to, and we don't have an author for this, so we're just going to use the title. According to your brain on beer versus coffee, um, caffeine binds with the receptors in your brain, um, which the gives you more energy. And so, therefore, we have used information here to back up our statement that we were saying. And whatever your opinion is, I mean, that's what you need to state as your claim, whichever one you would choose. Even if you qualify it and say, personally, I would not choose either. However, and tell which side you would. So just keep in mind, when you get a writing prompt, it's not asking you to pledge your life to it. It's not asking you to carve it in stone and sit it out in your front yard as a statement that you live by. It's just asking you a question. And all I want you to do is to be able to answer the question and back it up with some information that you got from this infographic. So that's fine. You don't have to take this personally. Just do it. Just do it. All right. I have another one on here that I want to show you. But things that you will need to cite that. Like I said, we can't cite this because I have just copied this from an old course of mine and put it in here, and I don't actually have the web page and everything that I got that from. It's not a link to it, it's the actual image of it. But for any other one we do, you're going to need this. So you may want to jot this down or take a picture of it or however you like to take notes. But you've got to know what the title is. How do we know what the title is? It's going to be big and bold and up near the top. And so there it is, right there. We'll look at it on the next one too. You've got to know, all right, why do you need to recognize the title out of it? I'll ask you that one. Why do you need to be able to pick out the title of an infographic?
So you know what he's talking about.
Okay. So what are we going to do with that title when we're actually writing our paragraph?
For the main topic, like the topic of the, if you're there to use that as your, as one writer. Is it, like when your topic is, like if it was, you have the title, so it has something to do with the entire essay about it, at the same time, your claim is about it. So you would use it as your writer, you could use that topic.
Okay. And I think what you meant was you won't use it as your topic sentence because your topic sentence is your claim that you're making in response to the prompt. But when you get ready to give supporting details from the infographic, you got to know the name of it. So we're going to refer to it in the paragraph by name. We're going to do the signal phrase according to your brain on beer versus coffee, or whatever the title happens to be. And you're going to need to put it on your works cited page too. So it's important that you be able to recognize the title. The publisher of the infographic is important. Also, you won't put that in your actual paragraph, but you'll put it in your full works cited entry on the works cited page. If we have it. What does MLA say? If you don't have something, what do? If you don't have a piece of information for your citation, what do?
Leave it out.
Just skip it and go on. That's right. I like that because if you don't find an author for that one and there was no author's name on that, then you won't start with your author's last name, first name. You'll start with the next thing that you have, which is going to be the title. So you will have a title. And then who is the author of the infographic? If you can find the author's name on it, great. You'll have that, and you'll start with that for your citation. But the one that we just looked at did not have that, and so we can't put it in there. The date of publication, we didn't have it for this one. So if we don't have it, you can't put it in there. What we would have, if we were getting that from a web page, would be a URL. And I'll show you how to do that when we look at this one. Do kids eat like prisoners? That's an interesting question. And that's going to be like your writing prompt too. more in there. Okay. So, here it is at the top. Do students eat like prisoners? That is the writing prompt, which also happens to be the title. So how convenient. All right, so what they have here, the thing that I noticed first, this big, jagged, looks like a lightning bolt, a super lightning bolt going down the middle here. And over here, I see typical prison meal, and over here, I see typical school cafeteria meal. So this is another compare and contrast. Let's see what we're trying to decide. Do students eat like prisoners? And so the claim you would make for that would be they do eat like prisoners. They don't eat like prisoners. They eat worse than prisoners with a qualifier, or they eat better than prisoners, which is a qualifier. So there are different ways you can make the claim, but you're making a point blank statement that one is so. The claim that you're making is so. And you're going to back it up with details from this. Now, you don't have to make a personal choice in this one because it's just facts about prisoners, what they eat, and typical school cafeteria, what kids eat in cafeterias. So let's see, since we got this jagged line down the middle, let's read this one first. And let's read left to right. Okay, so this is a typical prison meal. I'm not worried too much about that fine print there, so we won't need to look at that. So here we go. Now, I could read straight down this and then go over and look at this. So it doesn't matter as long as you recognize that everything on this side of the jagged line down the middle refers to prisons. So here's what a typical prisoner gets. 3 to 4 ounces of meat, 1 beverage. They don't say what the beverage is. That looks like water, maybe cloudy water. I'm not sure. That might be a glass of milk. I'm not sure. Just a beverage. A half cup of vegetables, a 3/4 cup of a starchy vegetable, 1 bread item, and 1 serving of fruit or a dessert of some kind. Now, I used to teach at the prison out at Momeyer, and I never ate lunch with the prisoners, so I did not get to experience it. But I know they would talk about what they had to eat, and the consensus was they didn't really get enough to eat. They got the bare minimum to eat, and I don't know. It looks like enough. I would certainly be satisfied with this, but some of these guys are big muscle building guys, and maybe they felt like they needed more. I don't know. All right, but let's look at this. Average calories served to inmates per meal. Now this is per meal. 1,300 to 1,450. These would be federal guidelines to feed the prisoners. Average cost to feed a prisoner per day is about $2.62. Now, it probably costs a lot more now than it did then. I'm not I can't remember when this was published, but there are some references in here to 2010 and 2008, and that makes me think it's going to be a lot more expensive now. And then the federal budget for prison food is $205 million, and that would be annual there. So that's what it's like for prisoners. Now let's look at the school kids over here. Typical school cafeteria meal. This would also have guidelines that they have to meet over here. So they get 1 bread item, which is the pizza slice here, 1.5 to 2 ounces of meat. And that's not a lot of meat, but the cheese has protein in it. The pepperonis have protein in it. It also has a lot of fat, but anyway, they don't mention that. They have one starch item. So that's why they end up sometimes eating a piece of pizza and tater tots. 8 ounces of milk and a half a cup of vegetables or fruit. So they don't get a dessert, so to speak, but if they have like pineapple tidbits or something like that, that would take the place of like having a dessert. And it's been my experience with my own children and looking at other children as well, and with my husband teaching middle school and what he tells me, most children given a choice are going to choose a fruit over a vegetable. I don't know. That may not be true for everybody, but I think a lot of people would rather have pineapple tidbits than broccoli florets. Anyway, so let's go. Okay, so that's what they're having. And then it says an average calories served to students per meal, 1,400. How does that compare with the prisoner over here, 13 to 1450? Yeah, it's right in line with each other. So it's about the same. It costs, average cost to feed a student per day is $2.68 compared to the prisoner, $2.62. Very similar there too. Average yearly federal budget for school food programs is $11 billion, whereas the budget for prison food is $205 million. Quite a difference there. Why do you think there's such a difference there?
More people are probably in schools than are in prison. Well, I would hope so.
Exactly. That's exactly right. All of these, I mean, we keep increasing our prison population all the time, but thankfully we're not as, we don't have as many as we have elementary kids in school. So that's a positive thing. But, and I'm just going to ask you, which one do you think eats better? Because that might help you answer the question, do students eat like prisoners? Do you think one eats better than the other, or do you think they both are equally good? Do you see a lot of similarity? That would be using the word like. Yes, students eat like prisoners. Or you could make the claim students and prisoners really don't eat the same. So you would have to answer that question. And then you would use bits of information from here to back it up. So if I said, okay, I think students do eat somewhat like prisoners, that's my claim. The calories are this according to, do students eat like prisoners? Prisoners have this many calories per meal, students have this many calories per meal, very close. And then I would explain that. So even though the contents of their food tray may be quite different, the calorie amount is about the same. I could say also the cost of a student's meal is about the same as the cost of a prisoner's meal. And I don't even think I would want to bring in this 205 million versus 11 billion, because that's not alike at all. And if I'm saying they eat like them, I only want to select details that would show how they're alike. If I wanted to make a personal judgment on this, I could do that in, say, my concluding sentence for the paragraph. So I might say, even though prisoners and school children eat, have a lot of similarities in what they eat, overall, just looking at Do Students Eat Like Prisoners, it appears that the prison meal is more well balanced than the school cafeteria. Because look at all this starch they're getting and fat with the pizza and the fried tater tots and yeah. And even though they serve them milk, a lot of times the students don't drink the milk. So anyway, but that's the whole idea is, now, I don't see an author on here, so I'm not going to worry about having to put the author first. I don't have it. I skip it. But I do have this. And I do have a JPG up here. Excuse me, a URL up here in the browser. So what I can do is I can, all right. Okay. I was thinking it would highlight by itself. Okay. And then I'm going to copy that. And I want to put that in a document. So I'm going to show you now how to do it. Let me get a blank document up. Come on, little Google Doc. Okay. So, I copied out of the browser, and now I'm just going to paste it right here. So that's my URL. Now, before that is going to come in the citation, but I've got to start with the title. So let's go back. Do Students Eat Like Prisoners? And remember, capital, first letter of, first word, and go ahead and put that down there because it's going to be a problem. Do students eat? Eat, even though it's a short word, it's a verb, so it gets capitalized. Do students eat like prisoners? And this title ends up being capitalized every word, the initial cap. Now, what do we do to a title that belongs to somebody else in a citation like this? What do we do to somebody else's title?
Was it italics? I believe in italics, or I can't really, but I'm still trying to forget things. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Quotation marks.
Quotation marks. Excellent.
Yeah,
All right. All right. We temporarily forgot the word. That's fine. So, do students eat like prisoners? In quotation marks. Normally, we would put a period inside here, but the question mark is going to serve as the break, so we don't have to put a period and a question mark. The question mark already serves as the separation. The next thing that would go in the citation would be the publisher and the date of publication. So I'm looking, I don't see on here, and this is probably very hard to see. There's some fine, I know from looking at this before, there's information down here that is really not related to the publication, the publisher, or the publication date. But let me look up here in the where I copied the URL from. It's dailyinfographic.com. You see that in the URL up there? dailyinfographic.com. And so that is the publisher. So dailyinfographic.com. I got that from the URL right here, dailyinfographic.com. That's the publisher. And I would put a comma in the publication date, but I don't have one, so I skipped it. And then, but yeah, I just don't have that. But there's something that we do when we cite a website, just like when we cite our textbook. We're going to do what to this part of it?
Put it in italics.
Put it in italics, exactly. So we're going to put that in italics. And then we're going to have our publication information, if we have it. If we don't, we're skipping it and putting the URL next. And I'm just going to leave it on that line because the program for Google Docs does not allow a URL to be separated. And it does. It has special rules governing it too. But if, it's just not going to fit up here. It's going to go there. Somebody have a question about that? And then a period after the URL, because that's all the publication information we have. And then a space, and see, it turned blue. Now I can actually click on that and get back to that infographic that we were looking at. And then we have the date of access. We did this when we were doing the information from the news articles. So it looked just like this when we did the news articles, except they actually had authors too. But the date that it was accessed, so today happens to be the first day of March, and access one. All right, so we know that means March. I put it back. No, I got it right. It's the first day of March 2022 in MLA format. And of course, this is not in Times New Roman and all of that. But this is how we would do our thing. Okay? If we had an author, we would start with it before this. But we don't have it, so we skip it. We do have this. We got it from the URL right here, but we don't have a date of publication, so we skip it. The URL comes with a period at the end of it, and then the date that we accessed it. Okay, so that is, let's see, back to the page here. All right, so if you have a writing prompt, do kids eat like prisoners, you would make a claim. Kids do eat like prisoners, or kids do not eat like prisoners. And what evidence from the infographic backs up your claim? You just pull stuff that backs up your claim. You don't have to put everything that you observed in here, because some of the stuff in here may not even be very helpful to you. So let's see if I can blow this up just a little bit more to show you something on here that would not be helpful to you. This thing about Nutriloaf, biopolitics. In 2008, inmates at a Vermont prison filed a class action lawsuit after one too many of their meals featured Nutriloaf, a mixture of whole wheat bread, non-dairy cheese, vegetables, tomato paste, powdered milk, and dry potato flakes. They argued that the food was used as punishment rather than nourishment. It kind of sounds like punishment, doesn't it? That sounds yucky. But anyway, I guess I think they actually won that lawsuit, though. It said, it's got to be 3 to 4 ounces of meat and not some concoction like that. Anyway, so that's it. Start with your title, and if that doesn't, if you don't have information, you just skip it. You just get it. All right, so this is how we we do these infographics. This is what we're going to have to do next week for our midterm. All right, there's this document here, which just goes over, again, what I just went over. This is for an image. This is the part that's highlighted here. This would be structure of a citation for an image, like if it's a picture that is taken or something like that. We don't need that. Here's an example of a digital image with no author, but with a title, just like ours, in title in quotation marks with a period inside. Committee on Climate Change, that's the organization that published it. The URL, and then the date that it was accessed. And of course, in a hanging indent. And I guess it doesn't hurt to, put it in Times New Roman, 12-point font. We want to look for the line spacing, double. And then after that, we want to highlight it and go up to insert. No, it's not an insert, it's a format. Paragraphing, indentation, and things like that are format operations. So we go to, we're looking for indent because it's a hanging indent. So we look for that word, we go all the way to the bottom, and we choose a special indent here with the hanging. We apply it, and there we have it. So that's how to do that again. So this document, there's only one that really, here is if you have the author's name, you start with it, and again here you don't have the author's name, so you don't have to do it. Let's take a look at this. All right, this is something I have used for a long time, and it's a little out of date also, but let me see if I can get it all on there. There we go. All right, so here's a document that I created, and I've used this image here from this infographic from a long time ago, but using evidence from infographics to support a claim. So it says, use evidence from an infographic in the same manner you use textual evidence from an article, just like we did with the news articles, just like we did with the essay on our future selves. Same thing. But we're going to use it to back up what we're saying, and we're going to and let our readers know where we got the information from. Okay, so there's a lot of information on here, and like I said, this is way out of date anyway. But how do you read it? Well, the title's up here. Is the gender wage gap partially caused by major choice? That is your title. And then here we have information about male and female. They use the pink for the females. I told you this is from a long time ago. Blue for the male. And they carry that blue-pink theme throughout this. But look at the dotted line. It tells you that read everything in that box right here together, because all of that actually goes together. This would be read together outside of that box. This across, straight across, from left to right. And then we get down here, and we got signs of change, and we got an arrow pointing down this way. Carol Bartz earned $47.2 million in 2009, and they say this is a sign of change because it's got the little arrow pointing down at this. And then that leads to this statement: knowledge is power. A significant narrowing of the gap may only come from educating young women on the market value of their chosen degree path. And then you would read this together, some of the signs of change again. U.S. cities are narrowing the gap. Some countries are narrowing the gap. This is New Zealand and Belgium. And then the unhappy deal about McDonald's. Just like McDonald's is in the business of selling hamburgers, colleges and universities are in the business of selling degrees. They may not want you to know that. Some degrees are as bad for the wallet as the Big Mac is for the waistline. And that is true. So you need to, at some point, explore and see what degree you're hoping for and what kind of market value it has. Overall, just going on from this, from having read this many, many times myself, and you can certainly look at it, it does agree that the gender wage gap is partially caused by the major choice, because the facts show, and we could say according to, is the gender wage gap partially caused by major choice. Women often choose degrees that do not result in careers that pay as much as what men do. And you could say, for example, they give of 85% of medical degrees, and they're not talking about doctor, but nursing and other medical fields, average about $40,000. If somebody majored in aviation, which is mostly men taking an aviation degree, the median salary for that is $123,228.48. So you can just pick what you want from this to back it up. I'll say if you use at least two facts to back you up, then you would be in good shape. Here is what I got from this, and actually, if you already know something and you did not have to read it anywhere, then you don't have to cite it. I mean, because it's your knowledge. It doesn't matter where you got that knowledge from, watching a TV show or whatever. If you're specifically watching a TV show to see if it is something that you would to see if you can get information from it to use in a paper that you're writing, yes, we would cite that. But just general knowledge that we've gotten over the years, whatever. My students and I had been discussing the gender wage gap in class. So we already had some knowledge about this. So here's my claim, here's my topic sentence. The gender wage gap is at least partially caused by the choice of major in college. And that was my claim. So that will go first. That's your statement right there. That's the claim you're making. Now, how are you going to back it up? There's a gender wage gap in the United States. There's been quite a bit of discussion about the discrimination of women in the workplace. Most would agree that it is not because of education, because America's women are more educated overall than men. However, there is another angle to consider. While women are becoming educated, what kinds of degrees do they pursue for what kinds of job opportunities? For example, according to the infographic, is the gender wage gap partially caused by major choice? The highest paying job in the study, aviation, revealed that men outnumber women by nearly 9-to-1. Another example from the same infographic shows that women earning medical degrees make up nearly 85% of the field. However, a career in aviation pays over $123,000 a year, while a career in the medical field only pays an average of $40,000. And because I mentioned the title of it here, at the end of this sentence that has these figures in it, I put in parentheses is the gender. I just put enough to make it so it would match what's on the works cited page. So the kind of degree plays a major part in the gender gap. MLA citation, and of course it's not in MLA format here, but we would start again with the title. The question mark serves as the break between. This one actually came from visually.net, and this is the URL. I did not there was no date of publication on it, so I don't know what that was. So skip it if you don't know it, and then you put your URL and a period, and then the date of access. I did that in 15 May 2015, which, by the way, I did my MLA format wrong. It doesn't take apostrophes. It's 01 March, and we abbreviate March, and then there's the year. You could put 2022 if you wanted to. 22 is good enough. All right, so I made a mistake, and I'm glad I caught my mistake. So again, that is another sample of it. So it goes like this: title, period, inside the quotation, website in italics, the URL, and then the date of access. And the date of access would be the date that you're looking at. Sometimes you go back to these things, I'm not even sure. Yeah, it does. My URL still works. But sometimes it doesn't. It doesn't work. And there's this is interesting. Transcribed. Those pictures and things that were fairly easy to follow and read, look what it would look like if it were just written as a paragraph. That's so hard to see. Yet in the infographic, very easy to read and see the information. So that's why we use infographics. You've heard the expression, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, gosh, if you look at these words, yes, it is. It's so much easier to read it in the infographic. When we get to do our research paper, which we'll start working on after we take the midterm assessment next Tuesday, we will, you'll need to, in doing your research and finding your sources for your essay, you'll need to find something that has data in it like this. What did they call it? Data made visual is a great way to get data so that it's easier to read, even if it's in a chart or a table or something like that. It's so much easier to read than it would be if it's just all written out in words. So that's why we use them. That's why they are helpful to us, and that is why we're even practicing this. Before we get into that research paper, we will be using some of this. All right. I didn't change the date on the homework from October to what is Thursday is the 3rd. So this will read March the 3rd when I fix it. But it says here, practice for the midterm assessment by completing the practice paragraph. The practice paragraph is right here. Complete this worksheet as a practice for the midterm assessment, and then type a fully formatted MLA document with a complete paragraph and a works cited page. Submit the completed paragraph on the Turnitin link below, which is always, the Turnitin links are always under the graded assignment, the gold bar there, and there is where you would, that's where you would put it. So you can go ahead and look at that. We'll go over this in class on Thursday. So if you're not going to see this stuff about organ sales and all of that. But okay, we'll go over it in class next time. If you want to turn it in, I probably have, because I didn't change the October, I probably didn't change the date on this either. But I will go and do that right after class. And this also is, you can turn it in after we talk about it on Thursday if you want to. The only thing is, if you want me to give you feedback on it before we actually do the actual paragraph for the midterm, you need to get it done so that I can have time to look at it. So I'll work with you on it. And you can work with me on trying to get that done. So what is the homework then? The homework is to look at the practice paragraph, which is right here, and try to at least do the citation for it, set up your Google Doc, get your paragraph set up, and I give you this little template to follow for what needs to go into the paragraph. This is going to be just like the actual assignment. It's not going to be this actual writing prompt, or this infographic, but it is going to be similar to this. In order, you can see that in the document that it looks like a link, and it is. So you just click on it, and it'll take you to the infographic. So again, we're not looking up our own information yet. We're going to be doing that when we notifications. So be aware. Where's the title? Now, I'll tell you this is a quotation over here by Ravi Ayada, a sleep researcher. He did not put this infographic together, though. It's just a quotation from him. So you can certainly use that in your paragraph, but he's not the author of this. And there really is no, you have to click on see the full infographic to see it all. But this is the way the midterm will go. There will be infographics provided for you. You'll look at them, and then you'll respond to a writing prompt. The writing prompt for this one is sleep important to being successful as a college student? And your answer is going to be sleep is important to being a successful college student, or sleep is not important to being a successful college student. Then you will write a paragraph, and you'll a topic sentence, 3 supporting details with your commentary on those information that you get from the infographic, and a concluding sentence. So try that for homework. If you want to not turn it in, but save it until we talk about it Thursday and then turn it in, that's fine. But the point of this sample is for you to do it and for me to look at it and see if you're way off key or if you're right on key. for that. Okay. So does any, and I got all these videos from past semesters on here, but I am recording today, so I'll put that video on here also. Anybody have any questions? Okay. Did anybody come in after the I took the roll this morning?
I did.
Okay, Zipporah, great.
I think I did too.
Katie, okay. I think you did. All right, and I think I saw Caroline here for a minute anyway, but I think sometimes, internet is not very good and you're popping in and out. And that's the thing that I'm assuming when that happens. Well, have a great and happy March. And so enjoy.
Oh, Miss Lee, I
Yes.
have an announcement.
Okay.
Well, this is my own personal benefit. I'm sorry I'm being selfish, but
That's okay.
guess what's happening on the 12th of next week?
What?
My birthday is next week.
Ah, all right. And will it be some monumental age that you're reaching?
Monumentally, yes, but the purpose of it, I'm really excited for. That makes sense.
Okay. Okay. You can elaborate or not. Michaela, what?
Thank you, Michaela.
Yes, happy birthday in advance. We'll try to remember that. Which day next week?
It's on a Saturday. Well, that's a good thing because I don't have to do it.
Oh, yeah, okay. So, is it the 5th of March?
The 12th.
12th. Okay, I was going to say the 5th of March was my grandmother's birthday. But anyway, the 12th of March. I'm sure there are plenty of famous and lovely people to share that day with you too. Okay, well, that's a great announcement. Anybody else have anything great to announce? Nope. All right. Well, have a great day today, and I will see y'all on Thursday. And if you can have those practice paragraphs like semi ready to go, so that when we go over them on Thursday, you can go ahead and turn them in, and I can give you some feedback before the next Tuesday. All right. So y'all have a good one. Bye. Fernando, you got any questions? How about you, William? I'm going to close the meeting.